Hello everybody, welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech video. This one is from a person who reached out to me and said, hey, can you take a look at one of my deck lists? I did his Teysa Karlov deck. Now I'm taking a look at his Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow deck. And this is going to be my suggestions. Nothing's written in stone here. This is just something I like to do. I like to take a look at it, see what I like about the deck, see what things I may sub out. But again, it's always up to the viewer if they want to do these changes or not. But this is a fun thing to do, and maybe a different perspective into a deck, which is very important. Compared to the last video, they did ask to say, hey, can you make specific suggestions, like specific cards you take in or out? And for me, that's personally always the hardest thing to do. I'm good at, I can give some suggestions, but, which ones go in over the others, that's something I struggle with a little bit. But without further ado, let's take a look at his deck and then the things that I would suggest about it. So, Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow, very popular commander in Dimir. For 3 and a colorless, you get a legendary creature, Human Ninja. Has Commander Ninjutsu, so you can basically cheat this out, per se, for 2 mana, so long as you have an unblocked creature, and return it to your hand, and put this back onto the battlefield. And whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put those cards into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value. So, very, very cool here. Has very powerful ability. It does multiple things, right? It gives you card draw advantage, it gives you a win con in the command zone, and it's very cheap on top of it all. Because the way, the direction that I see this deck, what the viewer wants to go with is, casting funny ninjas and having it hit a big spell, let's say, off the top of the library, and that's definitely a direction to go to. And I will start by saying, before we dive truly into this, that this is supposed to be a more powerful commander deck. Uh, this isn't probably CDH levels, but it's probably definitely up there because it can win early. The only thing it's truly lacking is the truly fast mana, and some more, the more expensive tutors, expensive board wipes, and infinite combos like demonic consultation, Thassa's oracle. So that's the things that it's probably lacking to be truly competitive, but it's still going to be a very strong deck when you see it across the table. So without further ado, let's jump right into this. First off, I want to take a look at the ramp package here. Funny enough, I already did the video. I just didn't have audio on it, so we're doing it again. But the ramp cards he has in here is Velware, Dimir, Arcane, Soul Ring. So your typical standard ramp. He also had like a Dimir key in here and a command sphere and a Mind Stone, which I'll point out. However, I feel like your commander is cheap enough where you really don't need to go that expensive on cards, right? Because you want the cheap ninjutsu abilities and cheap creatures out, and you don't need to ramp too hard because on turn 2 you rather be ninjutsuing out your commander than dropping a piece of ramp, right? Because then you automatically start drawing cards and your engine gets online a lot faster. So enough on that. So that's why I suggest cutting some ramp here for some other cards or some other ramp that's maybe just as good. And let's go down the list. He had a category here, burn, which are the big spells, right? This is where I got the idea where he wants the higher mana value spells because like a Shadow Mortality, if you flip this off a Yuriko trigger, it's going to deal 15 damage to all your opponents, right? So that ends games pretty quick. So cards like that are there for that particular. Sometimes you can cast this later on. You never know. It's a 7/7, sure. And then going down from there, he has some counter spells. A lot of these are specific, like instant, non-creature, non-creature spells. So some of these are very specific, and there are some substitutes you can put in here if you want. But I like the typical just standard counter spell. Familiar Ruse is pretty cool. Neat tech. These for 2. You return a creature you control to your own hand and counter any spell. So half the time you do want the creatures back in your hand, either for another ninjutsu trigger or something along those lines. And in Commandeer, I've seen a lot of Yuriko decks. Very good. You have so much card advantage, you don't care about exiling blue cards from your hand to gain a tempo advantage. So Commandeer, these free spells are pretty good. Same with Misdirection, right? All provide protection if someone's trying to stop your game plan or you stop someone else's game plan. So counter spells are good. Then I made into a category all the evasive creatures he has here. 10's pretty good, but he can sub some out. I think 13 was the number he had, and 13 seems pretty good, so you can add some back in. But these are the ones I really like of his to keep here, especially ones that scry a little bit or spire out. It's a little more expensive, which I like. If you want to stay lower to the ground, you can, but I like it that he added in here because you look at the top four. Put those high mana cost cards right on top. And of course, when it gets bounced to your hand and played again, you could do it again. And then, Tetsuko is probably the best creature in the deck, probably, because it just allows all your stuff to get through, right? The important part is to take a look at the creature type as well, like the shapeshifter, because these count as ninjas. The more changeling cards or ninjas you can actually connect with, the better, right? Because it's less hoops you gotta jump around to get that Yuriko trigger. And if we get it multiple times in a turn, very strong. These are all the creatures with ninjutsu that he added. I like most of them. They do various effects. Either draw cards, can destroy creatures, create tokens, copies, all this sorts of good stuff. Return a creature to its owner's hand when it deals damage. So like a lot of these do a lot of nice stuff. Nashi's a little more expensive for its ninjutsu, but a very powerful effect because you can pay life to play spells if it connects with someone, one of their spells in particular. So these are all fine by me. Fallen Shinobi's also more expensive. I'm a little more the fun side, but a card I have to maybe think about adding or keeping, up to you. But it's just a little more expensive, and the lower you can stay to the ground in deck is the only thing, is the better off you're gonna be. In terms of creatures and stuff. So just something to think about. Besides that, like all the ninjutsu stuff he's got going on. In the draw package, I like these. The expensive draw cards with Delve. But again, you hit these with Yuriko, you're smacking your opponents with 8 damage a pop. Like this. Cursed Totem is an interesting fit here, because technically ninjutsu is an activated ability. However, since it's in your hand, it's not affected by Cursed Totem, so you get around this clause. So powerful one-sided effect. Scroll Rack, you can, I like this card. Pitch your hand, grab some better cards, and then sort them at any order. So again, if you have, Shadow of Immortality sitting in your hand, you can throw it back right on top and then hit someone with it again, right? So really cool. Discovery Dispersal is kind of neat. Has multi-purposes, a little expensive, right? But it's not bad. It's something I'd consider. Maybe keep or not keeping. Up to you. Commit to Memory, I really like. 4 mana, remove something, sure, a little more expensive, but also is potential, getting a fresh grip, putting your cards back in your library, drawing 7, if you ever run low, so nice emergency draw, so I do like this. And again, for 6 mana, it's 10 mana total, because it's has 2 sides, and it combines the mana values, in this case, so you're going to be hitting people with a lot of damage if you flip it off Yuriko. Some lands here. I didn't touch too much in the lands, but he's got a land base, not bad. Evasion. He has some evasion giving stuff, especially for a commander. Like we have Tetsuko, which we could throw in that category. But yeah, because once our commander's out, we still want to connect with it if we can, and this is good ways. Like Smoke Shroud's pretty cool. Ninja Tribal gives it flying, so really hard to block it. Cunning Evasion's nice because now we're allowed to swing with all their creatures and they happen to block something, then it just goes back to your hand, right? Like nothing gained, nothing lost. Aquarius Form, of course, the scry's nice whenever it attacks and can't be blocked. So some nice stuff to give us the guaranteed trigger of our commander. Other stuff is a little bit of top deck manipulation. Don't need too much of this, but I like the Brainstorm, Important, and Telling Time. Like these are all pretty good. This one I compare to something else later on to maybe reconsider. So those are good. And then tutors. He had a diabolic tutor in here, but I decided to. With my suggestion is to go on the direction instead of getting it to your hand, rather put it right on top because Yuriko is almost guaranteed to draw you cards. So having it on top, and especially if it's a big spell to hit someone with, is even better, right? Depending on what your game plan, either getting something you need right on top or something to hit your opponents with. It's like tutoring for a commandeer, putting it on top, drawing it, casting it is a ton of momentum and damage dealing at the same time, right? So I'd rather the stuff go on top, but it's up to you again. And then let's take a look at stuff I did think that like there are better fits for. Like not to say necessarily not good cards, because like a Baleful Strix is, but for the mana, you might be able to get something better. So all these here, especially Fourth Bridge Prowler, is kind of neat. It can remove a creature, can help you get your stuff through, but besides that, doesn't get through itself or inherently help your game plan of getting your own creature through. So I'd recommend against it. Mistcloak Herald is, generic good, can't be blocked, but I think there's better options. Same with Baleful Strix, draws you card, Flying Death Touch, all good stuff. And Dimir Infiltrator, same thing, can't be blocked, but there might be some better options maybe that give you more utility, especially in this mana bracket. Crystal Ball I thought was neat, but repeatable scry once per turn, and it's pretty expensive for what you're getting. Like I like the repeatable scry, it's not ideal in a deck for its mana cost and how fast it's once get online. And same with Dimir Kirun, right? Mana, but it's just expensive. Can't be blocked, so it's a nice option. It's just a lot of mana sink to do. And then Mocking Sprite was under, the evasive creatures. Just a bit more expensive. The discount on sorcery spells is nice, but really the big thing I think you're really caring about is the Yuriko triggers and getting that online as fast as possible. Satura Umezawa is an interesting one. Again, it gives you more card selection, right? So on paper, it seems really, really good. It's just, I think for the mana value, you get, this kind of doesn't advance your game plan. It helps. It's more of a win more card, right? So you activate ninjutsu ability, look top 3 cards, put one of them in your hand, rest in the bottom order. So this actually doesn't, cater your card draw. It gives you card selection to get right away. It just doesn't put cards in the order you want on top of your library. So it's kind of a not a nombo, but not advancing the game plan. And giving everything, this part is pretty much useless in the deck. Each creature in your hand has ninjutsu 2 and Dimir, which, all your creatures already have ninjutsu, or they're the same price as that. Except for Silent Blade Oni is the only thing that would get a discount, which, it's a really fun, neat card. Keep it, but it's just really expensive for the game plan. It seems like a different deck style you're going for with a Silent Blade Oni. And the rest of here seem pretty good. Same thing with Akiba Gang Shinobi. It just seems more expensive, and dealing, having a single player discard 2 cards, like not bad, but it's not as effective as, just cheap ninja, and then getting value off just the trigger, not like this kind of area. So and the last 2 cards here, Memory Plunder seems like a fun one, and this one's really situational for me. Like I play in a pod where I wouldn't grab an instant or sorcery that has a lot of value for the same mana. But if you're playing against people who have, like they want to cast the big spells and you can steal one of them, and sure, yeah, Memory Plunder's pretty good. It's just expensive for the cost. Depends what you're getting, though, right? If you're getting a big mana value, it's really good. I don't know your play group. In a Rowdy Research is the same deal. As I feel like you have enough card draw, inherently, but I never play with this card because you can use it with your opponents swing out with like a ton of tokens and have a lot of card draw for like 1 mana. If you hit this off Yuriko, of course, it can deal a lot of damage. So I really don't know too much on it, so it's up to you. Yeah. Besides that, let's take a look at the suggestions that I would maybe put in the deck, and let me, while I'm here, let me throw these two in as well. All right, cool. So I have a little bit of a maybe sideboard here of cards I would potentially add. So let's take a look at these cards. You know what? Let me make it pretty big. Cool. So we're working on this right side here. And the cards I would potentially add or remove here are, I see you already have a Rogue's Passage in the deck. So again, more ways to give stuff can't be blocked good. So might as well throw an Access Tunnel in there. Doesn't hurt too much to add a colorless source. You have enough to spare, I think. Access Tunnel, pretty good. And in the Nexuses, this one, of course, being more expensive because it comes with Infect, which isn't super important. But a Blinkmoth Nexus, again, it's a land that can turn into a creature. It stinks kind of ninjutsuing off your land, but as a last resort or for an extra ninjutsu target later on, it could be pretty good, right? Becomes a creature with flying. So evasive creature in the land base is kind of free. Same with Moth Nexus. However, it just has Infect is why it's like, and it's running a lot of singleton formats. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? Yeah, let me go back to how I originally had it. Something like that. And then if I look, I haven't really formatted this yet. Something like that looks okay, maybe. Yeah, Phyrexian Walker. Oh, cool. All right. So those are lands, and those are kind of free, easiest cuts to make in and out. 33 land seems good. And where was I? So going down the list, I personally think that having some of these zero drop creatures are more important. Because turn 1, you can play 2 creatures out, right? A Memnite and some other 1-drop evasive creature, right? Or and an Ornithopter. Like imagine this is your turn 1, Changeling, Ornithopter, Memnite. Now you have options to swing out on turn 2 with your commander, and ninjutsu stuff in and out. And the more land drops and the more creatures you have, and by early turns, usually they don't have blockers by themselves. Gives you multiple ninjutsu targets. Because what might happen is you might have too many ninjas on the battlefield with no way to push through damage with them. So having more stuff to ninjutsu onto and more options, I think, is better. But up to you. So again, like some of these more expensive creatures, I maybe swap out for these. But if you want to go a different route, I feel like these are some pretty decent creatures because it has Sulk. And later on with the Expel, you can even draw more cards because it comes with that many counters. In the beginning of your upkeep, you can remove one if you do draw a card. So even if you cast this for 2, it already cycles itself, which is pretty powerful. Or early on for a 0-drop, it just can't be blocked, right? If they have a mana dork that has 1 power, they're not blocking it. So I think it's good enough maybe to add. What other creatures while I'm on the creatures? Oh, Siren Storm Tamer. For the generic can't be blocked creatures or expensive ones, yeah. This one is flying, so usually can't be blocked, and has a counterspell built in on it, so very nice. Universal Automaton I would throw a shout out to is a Changeling, and so it could be a ninja trigger on itself. If we have a Tetsuko out or some other evasion spell, it'll be getting through. And I think one of my favorites here is Wingcrafter. Has Soul Bond, right? So you may pair this creature with another unpaired creature. When either enter the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them. And then it gives them both flying. So let's say you have, Wingcrafter out, it already has flying. If it's paired with something else, you ninjutsu on top of it with like Yuriko. Cool, Yuriko gets in for the turn, deals its damage, nice. And you can pair this with, even the 0-drop creatures, right, that normally can't get through. So together they are really good. But then Yuriko comes in, and you play this next turn. You can pair it with Yuriko, give it flying, and now all of a sudden, you can connect with Yuriko again. So I think it's a nice fit there. Visible Stalker. If you want to keep the more expensive evasion, this one gives hexproof and can't be blocked versus, just unblockable. It gives it hexproof as well. Transmute is nice, but I don't think there's going to be transmuting for too much stuff here. Since you have so much card selection. And other suggestion, Mercurial Spell Dancer. Can't be blocked, right? And then potentially you can double your spells later on. So something to take a look at. As part of the getting around stuff. Sword Coast Sailor might be interesting because if you want your commander getting through, you're either going to put an aqueous form on him, right? Can't be blocked. Or Sword Coast Sailor is a static effect that even if you ninjutsu, someone removes your commander, this ability still triggers because, or still is, relevant once you cast your commander again, ninjutsu him out, whatever. Because whenever this creature attacks and no opponent has more life than that player, this creature can't be blocked this turn. So powerful effect, I think. And then now I'm going to be jumping over the place a little bit of addition. So personal tutor over demonic, not demonic tutor, diabolical tutor. It's cheaper. And you get to put a sorcery card, put it right on top. And you get, the sorcery card you want. I think it's pretty good. Then you can usually draw it the next turn. Dark Ritual, before I said it was good, maybe not so good in this deck because you don't have a lot of black requirements. So maybe not a Dark Ritual over something else. I don't think I touched on Birthday Escape, but it's a cantrip, draws you a card and a ring taps you, and for your commander, can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. And not too many decks are going to have, usually you can get around someone with the ring mechanic, right? The ring tempts you. And you really care for that first trigger. Or you could put it on like one of these cheap things to get through, right? So very good there. Going down the list here. This is one of my favorite ones. Lim de la Vault. For 2 mana. Look at the top 5 cards of your library as many times as you choose. You may pay 1 life to put those cards in a bottom of your library in any order. Then look at the top 5 cards of your library. So you repeat this process until you get a quadruplet pairing of 5 cards that you like. Then you can order them in any way. So I really like this card to dig through your deck. Versus even a Rowdy Research. Either draw 3 cards or you get to kind of make your next 5 draws, pretty good. So something to consider there, which I really like. Then I'll touch on Celindi's Vision. It's kind of a freebie. Comes in tapped. It could either be a land that comes in tapped, which is not ideal, or it could be a free spell. A free fit into the deck if you remove a land for it, right? That's what I'm trying to say. And 3 mana value, and you get to look for instant sorcery put in your hand. So I like that it digs that way, and it's not a dead draw if it's a land. If you hit it off Yuriko, at least deal some damage. I do like all that stuff. Some of the other cards are more fun, but foil's not bad. You discard an island, which you're gonna have a lot of card advantage, right? The counter spell. So I do like this, maybe in place of one of the counter spells. Lurian Reveal. It kind of fixes you a little bit if you need an island, which I do like. So consideration. These are all more like consideration fun stuff. Psychic Battle's interesting. It's a really obscure kind of card, but basically if you have a big mana drop on top of your library, you control the targets for any player that tries to target anything, right? Interesting card to take a look at, but you have a lot of high CMC stuff as well, so could work out. Street Wraith I like because it cycles for free. And there's other suggestions here, but I'm going to touch on the stuff I really think. I think Draco is funny. Yuriko decks is either you run this or you don't. Because it's 16 damage, it's kind of like another Shadow of Mortality. if you hit this off Yuriko, people are taking a ton of damage. So, could be a fun include to sneak in here somewhere. Um, so I have like 15 cards, 16 cards, 17 cards, 18 cards, 19 cards. Maybe I would substitute out um, off face value if you really want to for like some of this other stuff. But yeah, I'll leave it up to you. This is the primary maybe board. And if we go down a little bit further, let's move this over here. Um, this is an additional maybe board here. However, this is the more expensive stuff. So you can see the price tag here. But yeah, if you're willing, you want, some of these could be nice to add, not necessary, but they're mostly side upgrades and side substitutes. Like a Lotus Petal gets your game plan online faster in place of one of the pieces of ramp here. Shizo can give legendary creature fear, so basically can't be blocked except by artifact or black creatures. So a free land drop that kind of sneaks your commander through, or any other legendary creatures. Swan Song is just kind of a better counter spell because it hits more stuff, gives him a bird token, but at least can hit more stuff. Cyclonical Rift, of course, right? Overload, bounce everything that's not yours. Very strong card. And then Dothy Voidwalker in place of one of the unblockable creatures because Shadow's basically unblockable. And its Graveyard Hate turns off Aristocrat decks, right? Because the replacement effect if something would die, instead exile it, and then you can cast the exile card without paying for its mana. So like really, really, really powerful card. And then these Aghanim Awakenings and Seagate Restoration, these are basically free. You could sub them out for land drops because you pay 3 to have them come untapped, especially. And if you hit this, it's better hitting this off Yuriko trigger than a land, right? Something like this. And plus what's the upsides, as it does stuff too if you cast it. Same with the Aghanim, you hit someone for 3 at least with Yuriko. And we have different CMC stuff, especially 0, 1, 2, 3. Mana cost stuff, bring it back to the battlefield later on. So a little side upgrades helps a little bit. And then Temporal Trespass. You have 1 take extra turn spell in here. But I think like 2 or 3 might not be bad either. Especially this one hits people for a lot. If you hit off the top, you could personal tutor for this thing. And if you have cards in the graveyard, delve it away, only cast it for pretty cheap. That kind of deal. So these are more expensive sideboard upgrades. But you can make do with a lot of nice stuff here, depending what you're going for. So sorry if I was a bit over the place. Doing on the deck, on the fly, kind of like subbing in and out of creatures, cards, I would add or subtract. That's pretty tough for me as well. But it's just, my thoughts out there. Maybe something is of merit for you. I hope so. But yeah. So overall, really cool deck. Love the idea behind it. It's doing funny ninja stuff. Love it. Strong deck. It's going to do good. But yeah. So this is Yuriko the Tiger Shadow. Thanks for hanging out with Momo versus MTG. If there's another deck tech or something you want me to take a look at of yours, leave a comment down below. Send me a message. Shout out. Be the way, like, subscribe for more stuff. And yeah, I'll see you when I see you in the next one. Take care.